you ready? I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Vita and Chip.
Did you push him?
No. You must have bumped him with your chair. With your massive chair. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a her anyway.
Children of the Damned. Yep. Iron Maiden.
Yep.
Iron Maiden.
This is a Patreon pick, right?
This is a Patreon pick. This was a Sin and Glory Patreon pick.
Mm-hmm. So, if you want to get your request bumped to the top of the list, one of the best ways to do it is to go on Patreon. You only have to donate $1 per month, and that dollar translates to a point. And the more dollars you put in, the more points you get. And then you can group together with other people and get the songs that you want pushed to the top of our list. We do 2 Patreon picks a week, so you might get your song done faster that way.
Yeah. The real thing that I'm starting to see come together though is the communities that get formed. Mm-hmm. I'll see the alliance leaders. They'll post updates and they'll thank the crew, and the crew all works together. And
I know
there's a lot of compromise in the polling and things like that. And especially if there's a particular song that's very, very, very important to somebody. Yep. They'll talk about it and they'll make a case, and more often than not. So it's just beyond you get your song selected. I think like as a community, like we're trying to move beyond, that type of self-interest. Not that it's bad at all. It's not. But I just see people like really working together, and other people saying, hey, you know what? I really, really like this song. I want this song, but I can wait till next week. That type of thing. So I just think it's great. I think it's really, I always thought to myself, like, would I ever do Patreon, blah, 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 and to get a song selected by itself, I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's a bad commercial. I wouldn't. But to be part of the little mini communities and things like that, and to see how the camaraderie works and things like that, that part of it I like, and that I admire, and that I could definitely see myself doing that. But anyway, this got
Purity
selected.
of Vin and the capitalist nature of Sori shines again. But if you want your damn song done,
Children
follow
of the
my
Damned,
plan.
Iron Maiden, let's do it.
Alright, ready? We're going with the phone this time because we're having uploading issues. Ready?
Go.
Go.
This is a song off the album. It's called Children of the Damned.
running up this mountain.
Yeah. It's it's satisfying.
Inspiring, man.
Yeah.
It's like, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. Like let me see where I. So if I was listening to metal, if I was a teenager in the 80s, 82, this is probably like a year or two before Metallica. I feel like I would have liked these guys more than Metallica. Like that type of lead lines like that. I see now the difference between this, which is probably classical metal, and Metallica.
Yep.
Because Metallica is something different than this.
Yeah.
Metallica is different. Like they're like somewhere else.
Yep.
So these guys, I probably would have liked more, and probably would have jumped on Metallica during the Puppets period. But this is just like really, really inspiring. Like it's just interesting to me. Like Metallica and these guys are both metal. Early Metallica is like aptly named "Kill 'Em All." They kill everything and destroy everything.
Yeah.
You know, battery. Like this is just like inspiring. Like let's go run a couple miles.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, let's run a mile. Let's do some push-ups and you know work till exhaustion and puke and like get up or like fight the extra round. You know, go another round in Muay Thai and who cares about the hairline fracture? You know, like it's just amazing the different things that music can do to you. It's insane, especially metal. I just feel like the genre of metal, man. It's the pinnacle of music for me. It's just the pinnacle of music for me. The different ways that it can move you and inspire things in you. I think. And how consistently all these different bands can do that. Because in rap, there's just, there's only a couple guys that can really inspire you. And they can't do it all the time. They can't do it for an entire record. Nas, one mic, very inspiring. Tupac had a handful of songs, very, very inspiring. But, these big head, but like, Bone Thugs were like, this is kind of like the only record. They came out with a record in like 94, 95 that was like from beginning to end, just like really inspiring, but it was inspiring in a bad way. Stuff we used to listen to before we, whatever.
Yeah.
You had songs like Mo Murder on it.
Yeah.
No. Kill, nowhere to run, can't get away from my shotgun. Like, if you want to die, bye, so you gotta let mama cry. Like, it's crazy stuff. Anyway, I don't know, I'm just talking, but it's just very, very interesting. So, Children of the Night. Children of the Night? Damned.
How could you forget that? You said it through the whole thing.
We're doing the Children of the Night thing.
Oh, yeah. That's weird. I thought of that during this, too.
Yeah, exactly. See? But it's interesting, like, this is a man, though. He's walking like a small child. So maybe it's his eyes
burn you away, black holes in his golden stare.
Maybe
God
it's about
knows he wants to go home.
Maybe it's about his inner child.
Yeah.
He's a grown man. He's a walking dead man. If he'd lived, he would have crucified us all. Now he's standing on his last step. He thought, oblivion? Well, it beckons us all.
He's walking like a dead man. If he had lived. That's confusing.
Well, I think he's going to kill himself. He's standing on his last step, and then he's thinking about he's thinking about oblivion.
Oh no.
Which, he's on his way to die. So
what did he do? Burn himself?
It's burning his hands. He's turning to laugh. Smiles as a flame sears his flesh.
Melting his face, feeling the pain in his eyeballs.
Peeling the skin from his eyes. Watch him die according to plan. He's dust on the ground. What did we learn? Your back's against the wall. You turn into the light. You're burning in the night.
Yeah, if he's burning at the stake, or he becomes the light because his body's burning. Why?
When it says he's standing on his last step, he thought oblivion. So what, did he jump into a house that was on fire? But then, of course, this is Iron Maiden, so they're not like...
Literal?
Yeah, they're not talking about this is my inner turmoil or whatever. They have a lot of, like, the last stuff we did was like with the wasn't the Antichrist or something, but it was with this guy that had superpowers. Remember that one? The live show.
Yep.
And then there was like this watcher trying to figure out whether or not he'd do the right thing. Is this on the same record? What's the name of the record? Number of the Beast? I don't think so. What was this? What was the song?
I can't remember.
I don't think it was on this one. But anyway, maybe there's like a common theme of like superhuman people, and then they have to make decisions about how they're going to use their power or whatever.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? This one knew that it was bad, and so it knew that if it didn't sacrifice itself, that it would crucify everybody.
Well,
if he had lived, he would have crucified us all. Now he's standing on the last step. He thought oblivion. Well, it beckons us all.
Well, it says your back's against the wall. Your children of the damned, your back's against the wall. Like candles, watch them burn.
Them? So it's more than just him that's burning?
Well, it's children. So he's one of the children. He's dust on the ground. I think these are people that are like oppressing them. So it's like this guy.
You'll burn again tonight.
This guy has some sort of power, and people are pushing him. Like it says, his back's against the wall. So people are pushing him, and it forces him to strike out. But if he doesn't do it to himself, if he doesn't destroy himself, he's going to destroy the other people. Because he's got this power, and his back's against the wall, so he's got to make a decision. Either he blows them up or he blows up himself, you know?
Yikes.
I remember
Why do you think it says at the end that
you'll burn again?
Yeah.
Because maybe
it's some of these people that are being used?
Maybe he personifies the children, I don't know. I remember though being at the in the hospital, mental hospital, and we had this, I think it was during DBT, I'm not sure. But there was this one really big guy, and he'd been in the military, and his hands were just completely like wrecked. I forgot what the issue was, but he just like did a completely terrible number on himself. I mean, the only person worse than me in that hospital, and I went crazy on my arm, but the only person that was worse than me was him. And after you do that, like to that degree, and then you come out of it, and then the next day you're there, and then the doctors and everybody's looking at you like you feel like such a terrible person. You feel bad. I don't know why. Like to this day, I didn't really
say why.
I didn't really spend a lot of time psychoanalyzing it, but I just felt terrible. And I don't know. I felt bad for everybody because, of course, I was one of the youngest people there, so they were really worried about me. He was an older guy, very lovable, Vietnam vet type guy, extremely lovable guy, beautiful brother, but he was extremely violent to himself. It was terrible, and like I'm talking about chunks, and they had to bring him downstairs because we were upstairs, and downstairs was like the emergency surgery and all that stuff. He was bad. So anyway, I think like a week or two later, he made it back up to DBT, and we were talking, and then he broke down. And he was talking about how terrible of a person he is and all that, and and it was funny too because the guy that was running it, our counselor, he was our favorite counselor. He was a former Navy SEAL. So he's there. So they got this Vietnam guy, and then our counselor was there, and he was saying, and he was looking at me because my arm was still wrapped up, and then this guy, and then I felt bad because I'm like, I probably put that in his head because that stuff is contagious. You know, it really is, and I mean we saw that.
We did. Yeah,
so yeah, I just felt terrible about it. Anyway, the guy goes, I'm terrible, I'm horrible, blah blah blah. And the SEAL guy goes, well, were you angry when you did that? And the guy goes, yes. And then he goes, so instead of doing it to somebody else, you did it to yourself. And the guy goes, and then he broke down even more and blah blah blah. But it was just the weirdest thing because it was like, yeah, that's true. Because there are people that go and slash, and I've seen it, like face to face. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it is an interesting situation because it just reminded me of that, where this guy right here, like his back is being pushed against the wall. I mean, at minimum, he's in a cold world under a ton of pressure with nobody to help him. Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's enough in the lyrics here for me to ascertain what the actual picture is. But instead of like lashing out and destroying all those people, he would have crucified us all. And I'm assuming that he had some justification. The narrator, it looks like the narrator's saying that he'd be justified in doing so as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of doing that, he channels all that pain to himself. Because it's his only way of escape, it looks like. You know? And so it's like, it just made me think of that guy.
Yeah.
And the big thing that they were trying to show us in DBT was what if there's a third way to handle the
Like
pain
what?
and the pressure and things like that. You know, not lashing out at another person, but also not lashing out against yourself.
Doing what instead?
Well, DBT, some of it was like dialectical, so it was like, put your hand on something and, right color. Some of it was stupid, like color. It's like, I forgot how old I was. I think I was 18 at the time. I'm not sure.
Some people like to color though.
Yeah, but this guy was like in his mid 50s.
Yeah.
He's Vietnam vet, so it was like
Coloring wouldn't help me at all.
it was like a color. But the other side of it was like talking. But the coloring part was when you get that impulse, it only I forgot, it was only lasts like 2.5 minutes or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they had it down to something. So that's where the coloring thing comes in. Because a real rub is talking through it. See what I'm saying? So that was a strategy. Like, look, it's only going to last 2.5 minutes. Color, do something with your hands so that you're not stabbing yourself to death. And then once that overarching impulse has passed to do something with your hands, now go talk it out and better. And so that was the coaching. Like, find something to busy your hands with, and then go and talk after you're good to go.
I think it's about finding something, like doing something within that 2.5 minutes that's something that you actually enjoy doing.
Well, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean...
For me, coloring, that's not going to help me. Organizing something or cleaning, that will help me.
Right. But the trick was you couldn't color for 4 hours either.
No, yeah.
You just had to do it till you were out of red. And once you were out of red, then you...
Interesting.
And they would coach you to, whatever.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, I see the logic in it, and it's better than nothing. But at the time, and of course I didn't get put into DBT until after I did that whole situation.
What do you think DBT? What's that?
Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Okay. Oh,
but
really?
yeah. Because I think they looked at me as charismatic. I was like, and a lot of times people are like, why are you here? That they didn't know like how messed up I was. And then that happened and the whole place went,
Wow.
It was a pretty terrible time for everybody. And then my mom went ballistic. I mean, rightly so. I mean, how did this happen? How did he outsmart you? How did this happen?
Yeah.
But see, my mom had been telling everybody, look, he's not as well as you think he is, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we have it, blah, 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 yeah. And she was like, okay. And then sure enough, she comes to visit me and this big giant rap and like, what happened to you? And yeah, it was bad.
Oh, man.
She lost it. And then what could they say?
I know.
What could they say?
I know, yeah.
How did he pull that off under your nose? Like,
I know.
how did that happen? So, yeah, it was pretty terrible. Pretty terrible situation, but
Wow.
It's an interesting, this I'm assuming is this is obviously not a real situation, but children of the damned, so that your parents are damned and then they pass it off as a child, and I guess this guy's inner child, like he grew up with that the entire time.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a world in which like your fate was completely sealed and you heard about it?
In a bad way?
Yeah. Because
No, I can't
what we
imagine.
give our kids is that their fate is sealed in a good way.
Yeah.
Like God has you.
Yeah.
You know, you're children of promise. You're God's offspring.
Right.
You know, you're an instrument of the redemption of the world. You are already changing. You're not going to change the world. You're already changing the world for good just by being here. Period.
Yeah.
Like that's what they have.
Yeah.
But like, imagine a different world where it's like, look, we're all screwed. I'm damned. So are you.
Right.
Make the worst of it.
Make the worst of it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yikes.
it's something like really
There was something in
crazy
the
to
last
consider.
line. Can you scroll to the last line?
You'll burn you tonight. What did it sound like?
I don't know. It was there was something like it seemed like where it was talking about that the person's fate was kind of sealed. I don't know.
It beckons us all.
No, it sounded like that it was the fulfillment of some sort of a prophecy. But I know those words weren't used. But I don't know. Maybe it wasn't even in there.
Every time I see the term "God knows" in a song, I always feel like it's a double. Because God knows is just a throwaway word, like a throwaway phrase, like
Yeah.
you know, God knows I'm hungry or whatever. But it's also like God knows, as in
Yeah.
God knows.
Yeah.
In the sense of God's the only person that knows this kid's plight because the whole world's against him. And obviously, this man's plight actually. He's walking like a small child, but watch his eyes burn you away. Black holes in his golden stare. So yeah, this is some superhuman type of thingamajig. One of the things I say though is like, if there was a person with that type of power, that's exactly how the world would treat him. That is exactly how the world would treat him. Because just
you're probably right.
fear, just fear, you know, fearing somebody or something that has that type of power. Because we know the arc of human history and what happens when there's a class of people that have more power than another class of people.
Right. Yeah.
And when you start playing games with morality, and you start playing games with sectioning off,
Yep.
you know, members of our species that are open for killing. When you end up with somebody that what happens when you're at the bottom of the evolutionary spectrum?
Right.
Then what?
Yeah.
What if you're the underdeveloped one that hasn't attained a certain
Right.
level of, then what? Like, seriously, think about that. You know, like, it's convenient now because you're the one in the situation where you get to say, well, they're not as developed as me.
Right.
But what would happen if there was some group of people who, like, I don't know, punctuated equilibrium happened on a trillion, and now all of a sudden we have a master race of people who are legitimately a master race of people? What would happen? We'd be like, we try to get rid of that dude as soon as we possibly could. Get out of here. And you see it in all the hero comics. Like, a lot of people like Spider-Man for saving him, but then there's always a guy that's like, And then they always write it so that the general populace turns against Spider-Man, or turns against the X-Men, or turns against Superman, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's because, like, that's what happened, because that's our story, right?
It's
We
human
believe
nature.
a superhero did come down here.
Yeah.
We killed him.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so there you are. But it is amazingly messianic that this guy, and again, he uses the term crucified, and I know that doesn't necessarily mean that it's. But it is
Well, it's a flip because it says if he would have lived, he would have crucified us all.
right, but basically this guy is dying for the sins of the people, because it's either he dies or they die. It's either he dies in a painful, terrible fashion, or they die in a painful, terrible fashion. And the decision is his. Well, who does that sound like? As I always say, like, it's only 3 stories that we keep telling over and over again.
Oh, it's crazy. It actually would fit too because it says if he had lived, he would have crucified us all.
Right.
Because if Jesus lived and never died, then we would have all had to die for our own sins.
Exactly,
So,
right.
wow, that is pretty crazy.
So this character has to choose between,
Yeah.
you know,
Himself and the people.
yeah. And he dies in a pretty terrible fashion.
Yeah. Ugh. They say that's one of the worst ways to go.
What, crucifixion?
No, burning like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's horrible. It's a terrible situation, for sure. But this is, I'm gonna take a shower pretty soon, and this is already in my shower list. I love Iron Maiden.
This is a good one.
But this is we did the Slipknot song yesterday, where where Corey was saying, "Old isn't dead," or "New isn't necessarily better." Like this stuff right here is just like, yes,
yeah,
I love it. I love it. I just love those inspiring lead lines. I'm a sucker for that stuff, and it's not necessarily complex, but when you put the drums and all that stuff behind it, it's like yes. And then there was a one section when they went off on the bass, and it's just, I love it, man. I love this type of music.
What do you give it?
And this is again one of those situations where I'm like, I wish I could see these guys live. This is on my bucket list for sure. Iron Maiden, if you guys are ever out touring, you gotta pick us up. Let us know.
So what do you give it?
This is a 9.8 for me.
Whoa. 9.2.
I feel like it was too short. Good pick. Good solid Sin and Glory Patreon pick. I'm very, very happy. This pleases me.
Good.
This pleases me. Speaking of which, if you're a new patron, we had a bunch of folks jump on this week. Thank you guys very, very, very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Welcome to the fold. Without getting into particulars, recording at the clip that we do comes with certain sacrifices, and so we appreciate it. And honestly, sometimes it's like, man, is this worth it? And, you think about packing it in, and then we're to be transparent, we're in the middle of something that had to do with YouTube, and then $15 patron comes in, and I look at where we're at, and it's like, okay, it's working, we're close. So thank you guys. It's long, it's difficult.
Get to where we're trying to get to.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for the new patrons. If you're not a patron but you support the channel anyway, we love you. Thank you very much. Check us out, vinandsori.com. Just check out the site, go look around. But seriously, this episode brought to you by patrons. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.